2028, and that's the term of it's left. Anytime you have new property or added value to land, right? You make improvements to property, it should generate an increment if it falls above the base value, which where the property, whenever that was created, there was a base value created at that time, whatever the EAV was at that time. Make real property improvements, it causes the EAV to go up. Those are incremental dollars, the property tax dollars that go into the redevelopment fund, which the county uses to pay off its debt and also help negotiate any incentives or cost reduction programs that a company may need. Long story short, to find a path to get water and sewer out to Mill Ridge Crossing was always in the discussion since I started here, and I know it hasn't been in the past, working with the city, because the county is in the development game now, right? They bought land, they own it, they're a developer, but they don't have water and sewer. They don't operate water and sewer plants or system. So that's why you had to have the intergovernmental agreement. So that to get water and sewer out there, I think there was an $8 million, roughly $8 million that were awarded to the county in ARPA funds. So the $2 million is being collected by from Integral Farms over a 4-year period, roughly $48,000 a month. And they've been paying on it since, I think, January of last year, or this year. So where we're at with the project now, the easements, this is going from Walnut to Springfield. How far? A little over 3 miles, 3.5 miles. There's a lot of easements that we had to get, working with Fair Graham, obviously in county throughout the process. All those easements were secured and they've been paid. So moving forward, Fair Graham is in the process of finishing up the design, which would be submitted to the EPA around the first quarter of the year of 23, with the hopes of bidding it out and having construction completed by the end of 2023. All along that time period, and it's not just for business attraction, like I said, there's also companies and businesses that are always local. In economic development terms, we call it business retention expansion. So BRE, you may hear it, it's reading an acronym every now and then, so BRE. But there's a lot of focus in meeting with companies and businesses that sometimes need to grow. They're growing, so if you have growth companies and they happen to have not the site, or they don't own land, or they may be landlocked, or maybe a reason why they can't expand their existing facility, or they don't have access to water and sewer. And so when you get into those situations and you don't have available sites, the only options for a company to do, if they need all of those assets, is they look somewhere else. They become a client of someone else. They relocate. I know this happened when I managed the city of Rockford's economic development. It happened because they didn't have any viable sites. They ended up out in Loves Park or Chesley Park, even though they're in the same labor area, that they moved their assets out because there was no available sites. It happens. You don't want to be in that position. We do have a couple companies that we're working with that have opportunities to expand. And that is, they're looking, this is an opportunity to keep companies, let them grow at this location. In addition to that, there's traction efforts as well. And so whenever we work with Intersect Illinois, or we do direct outreach, we have relationships with brokers as well, existing companies. And when a company puts a search out for a site, they will tell you what they need. And they will tell you that I need to have water and sewer, they would need this and that. You get eliminated from the list, you're not even in competition with it. Every now and then there's a company that says, you're okay, go ahead, thank you. I didn't know if it was my hearing aid. But if they put a search out but it gives you a timeline. If you like engineering done, you have a speed to market, you've created another opportunity for business attraction. This is what happened when we started to find out that we know that by the end of 2023, we'd have water and sewer. But if they have a 2-year timeline, then we're competitive at that point, which speed to market is what private investment wants. And so as we continue to position the city, the county, for private investment, job creation, job growth, this is a part of marketing, product development, as well as marketing it to the general public. I mean, the business community and the investors. So we're in a better position even now than we were 2 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. Even though at one time I know that there was an option, I don't know the full history of that, there was an opportunity, but we are in a better position to at least get some business investment out there. We know we have one company that needs water and sewer to grow and expand. And so that's kind of where we're at. And when I say that's one of the areas that we look at and we work in, it is. And so, but I didn't know if there, Mr. Chairman, if there's any questions in regards to that, or if there's any other information you wanted on that.
I asked Mr. Williams to come up tonight because there's a lot of new board members, of course, and some existing board members that may or may not know completely what the project for Millrace Crossing entails. So I thought it was a good way to start off the last meeting of the year to, bring this information forward and give the board an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Jokers.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is that on?
I did? Okay, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Williams, for coming and explaining what's going on out there. I had a question. How many of these companies that are looking to maybe move in there are looking for a big tax break? I mean, a tax deferral kind of thing before they will come in there? I mean, are they gonna pay taxes right off the bat? Or are they looking for a handout?
I may answer that one. You're always competing. So initially, no, the question isn't about tax breaks, but you're always facing with the cost of doing business, right? So it's not necessarily incentives. I call it cost reduction programs, right? We want to continue to kind of lower the cost of doing business because we want to generate some commerce and some jobs and opportunities. Compete for it means the bottom line needs to help them make that decision. In this case, if there's an existing company, it's more about location. And it's more about having close access to where their current workforce is, where their current, those are incentives to them. But business attraction can get different. There's different ways of acquiring property, as well as, you also have an enterprise zone out there as well. So it's already out there, and in a lot of areas of the county. So that is another tool to help lower the cost of the business, but it does give you tax breaks on building material sales tax exemption. You can't abate property taxes in the TIF because those property tax dollars go to pay off the TIF or get deposited in the TIF redevelopment fund. So the answer is yes and no, no and yes, I guess. It depends on the level of business, the kind of business, the level of impact it would have on the community, if it's an existing company, existing workforce. You weigh all those things out. So whenever that happens, you would have an agreement in front of you, an open dialogue at that point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Baker?
Nope, it's me.
Oh, we haven't changed it up here. I'm sorry. Ms. Hayes?
Yes, Mr. Williams, thank you for coming in. What is the plan? What is the GFP's plan for going after some of these new businesses to bring them in?
Okay, if I may, there's different ways. Building relationships, so we get leads, or we have to have the product, so we have to market it, right? So you go to the target industries that you want to go after. So you either go to shows or whatever, you direct mail to them, you can call out on them. A lot of times in these instances, business attraction can be a rare occurrence. And you do that through relationship building. So there's either site selectors that are working for companies looking for locations. There's Intersect Illinois that we work with. We build those relationships. We happen to be the CEO of Intersect Illinois. Was our keynote speaker at our annual dinner. You build those relationships with them so they know who you are, what you're doing, what you got. And then the site selectors and the brokers. And over the years, you build those relationships up no matter where you are. They know what you have, what you got. And we get on that list, we compete with it. And other than that, you're really going to work within the industries that you know have growing. We do have value-added ag companies, businesses, and it would be ideal to have businesses that use water, a lot of water out there, because there's a revenue generator from that, from the city's perspective, right? Because they sell water once they get the infrastructure out there. So we would work in those whole ways. There's different ways of marketing, but it's really relationship building. We get leads from the city, we get leads from the county, we get leads from brokers, we get leads from companies. And our own board may give us a lead. And then other than that, it comes from Intersect Illinois, the brokers. And we don't spend a lot of money on magazines and advertising. Again, it's more of the relationship building with them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Is that someone online? Any other board members have any questions, comments for Mr. Williams? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have the labor now. Is there a motion for executive sessions 5 ILCS 120/2 C2 collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or representatives, or deliberations concerning the salary schedules for one or more classes of employees? Is there a motion to go into executive session? By Ms. Anthony. Is there a second? By Ms. Diane Wagner. Thank you. Any discussion on going into executive session? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call roll call for that, please?
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Modero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Holmes.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Yes.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Tim Moylan.
Yes, ma'am.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
15A. No nay. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. If everyone would please exit the room, and can we shut off the at some point, Jim, I don't know if this is yours or not, we'll get that fixed. Perfect, thank you.
Had to deliver something today.
That's fine. As long as I don't call Mr. Helms, I guess I'll be good. Are we all set? Good to go? Everything's back on? All right, we are back into normal session. There was no action taken out of, or in executive session. We'll move on to the zoning report. Ms. Henning, do you have anything for the board? No, sir. All right, thank you. I don't see any unfinished business, so we'll move on to the chairman's report. I didn't really believe I was going to ever have to address this, but apparently there's been a rumor going around that I'm canceling the Comcast contract the county has to broadcast these meetings. That is wholeheartedly untrue. I have not spoken to anybody in Comcast in probably 4 years. I don't have the authority to just cancel contracts that the county board enters into. So I can only assume why that rumor was started, but we got a phone call from Comcast. Certainly not helpful and caused a little bit of a panic in the public. So I'm very happy to say that we're going to continue with Comcast and honor the contract that we have. And in fact, we'll have a representative from Comcast come in January to discuss some opportunities for residents in Stephenson County that will be advantageous. I'm going to have the administrator hand out the financial calendar that I asked to have be created back when I took over as finance chair 4 years ago. The whole premise behind this was to give a guide to county board members as well as department heads to be more proactive in the budget process and to just understand what's coming up, what we'll be discussing in both finance and the committee level and the county board. So it's a good tool. I don't know that we've ever really, the county board has ever really properly utilized it, but I do know the finance director, the administrator, they do use this, and it's just a helpful guide. If anybody wants to know what's going on when, it's listed here. Unfortunately, not all inclusive, but it's pretty comprehensive. So thank you for doing that. If anybody has any questions about it or thinks anything needs to be added, please get with the administrator, and we'll be glad to do that. So, as far as appointments, the 708 board is asked to retain Miss Anthony, and Miss Anthony has expressed an interest to do that. I'm leaving her on that committee, and if you've looked through your consent agenda, she has prepared a report. I encourage everybody to look through that. It's always been historically that we don't really hear from the 708 board until budget time. But they do meet quarterly. They do very important work. Very happy Ms. Anthony is willing to stay on in that role. Mr. Newton is going to maintain his position with UCCI as the county board representative. He has also agreed to remain the Black Hawk Hills representative for the time being. So thank you for doing that as well. I'm not sure when you're meeting again for Black Hawk Hills.
It's every other month, so.
Okay.
Next month.
All right. And UCCI is every other month, right?
It's usually every month.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Unless something, holiday time changes.
Sure. Okay. Great. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to appointments, and the first is your approval of the appointment of Garrett Miller to the ZBA.
So moved.
By Mr. Jogers. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Copleen, is there any discussion on this? Mr. Hadley?
Yes, what vacancy is he filling?
Ms. Henning?
For Jim Yeoman.
Jim who?
Yeoman?
Yeoman?
Yes, he was
Jim
an
Yeoman.
alternate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Is that 3 Noes? 2. Okay.
4.
4.
So I request a roll call, please.
Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
This is for,
Mr. Miller to be appointed as an alternate for the ZBA.
Larry Jogers,
aye.
Brooke Deininger,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester,
Yes.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Steve Frick,
No.
Tim Whalen,
Aye.
Ronnie Bush,
No.
Samuel Newton,
Aye.
Luann Hayes,
Aye.
Casey Anthony,
No.
William Hadley,
No.
Jim Hart,
No.
Kirk Copeland,
Aye.
Adam Modero.
No.
Nine A, 6 nay, motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the approval of the appointment of David Snyders to the Liquor Commission. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Ms. Deininger, I think, made the motion. Mr. Copeland, do you want to second it? Okay, is there any discussion on this? He is filling in for the vacancy created by Chief Deputy Andy Schroeder, who obviously had to resign when he took the position of Chief Deputy. Any questions or discussion? Okay, we might as well do a roll call vote on this.
Brooke Deininger,
Aye.
Scott Helms,
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester,
No.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Steve Frick,
No.
Mark Diddens,
He's absent.
Tim Whalen,
Aye.
Ronnie Bush,
No.
Samuel Newton,
Aye.
Luann Hayes,
Aye.
Casey Anthony,
Aye.
William Hadley,
No.
Jim Hart,
Aye.
Kirk Copeland,
Aye.
Adam Modero,
Aye.
Larry Jogers,
Aye.
Eleven A, 4 nay, motion passes.
Thank you. Move to committees now. First up is finance. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I just have a question about like how the public would know that there's vacancies and how they get filled. Even just speaking from my own experience from 708, it's difficult, and we find ourselves asking like the agencies and other board members. I do know that on the website, I just learned this today, that there is an application that you can fill out to apply to be on the boards, but what is the process we have in place to either let the public know, or are the applications, can you only submit them when we know there's openings, because there wasn't like this, the ZBA and Liquor Commission wasn't posted, or can they apply whenever and it's just kept on file, like how does that whole process work?
Well, the 2 openings that we had came up very last minute. Liquor Commission actually has to meet next week. So that was an emergency that we had to do. And I actually reached out to former Sheriff Snyders and asked him if he'd be willing to do that in his capacity, the 30-some years in law enforcement. Ms. Henning came forth with a recommendation for the alternate at the Planning and Development Committee meeting, I believe, and let me know about that. But going forward, next week, I'm going to be sending out an email to all county board members for all openings that we currently have. I think the process would be for anyone that has interest is to reach out to the administrator. I'm certain that we can put that on the website and have openings. I think it's a great idea to just have people, if they want to apply at any point, to have a pool of applicants. It is on the website. To have a pool of people willing to participate in that capacity, I think is a great idea. And I think in the past, we've had difficulty trying to find people willing to serve. So if there's individuals that have interest, by all means. So again, early next week, we'll look to get that email out with all available openings and move forward in the process.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing that up. All right, we'll move on to finance. Mr. Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 items before us tonight. We have we call a tax, we called it an anticipation loan. We modified that at committee
Mr. Whalen, can you push your button so we can get your microphone on?
To a
Nope,
tax,
nope, the one by the red button there. Try it now.
Check, 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 check,
It's under Newton.
Oh, it is, I'm sorry.
check, check, check.
You gotta get the right person.
I could just start talking really loud.
All right, there we
There
go.
we go, thank you.
To basically a tax advance on next year's income from the taxes expected to come in for the nursing center. And so I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read that resolution. One comment I will make is the two things that we've asked initially to be paid off with that advance is the $190,000 that's still owed to the interfund loan that we had for the TIF district. And Mr. Remmers brought up a need at the nursing center for a new water heater, which was approved at committee in the amount of $11,000 and some dollars that Lusher is going to do for us at the nursing home. And so those two things were itemized as a result of approving this anticipation ahead of time. So just want to make sure that's very clear for everybody. So anybody have any questions on that?
Can you make a motion to put on the floor, please?
I would so move that the Stephenson County Nursing Center be the resolution to have a tax advance or an advance on the tax income from 2023 in the amount of $420,950 be so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Baker, discussion. Mr. Copeland.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. It's their money. They need it now, so let's just give it to them.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Jogerst?
Thank you, Chairman.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Yeah, this is their money, but since I've been on this board for 2 years, and it's gone on 10 years ago or whatever, the nursing home has had financial issues. It just never seems to end. And I'm not pointing fingers here, but 2 weeks ago, on the meeting minutes that we just approved for November 28th, 2022 meeting minutes, under the information section on page 2 in the full packet, it says, Mr. Helms questioned the nursing center's financial balance, noting outstanding accounts payable. He inquired if the mill race crossing interfund loan would be possible. The nursing center administrator responded yes, it would be made by Wednesday. That was just 2 weeks ago, and it didn't happen. I think part of the problem is we're relying, I'm not blaming TCM, I think they're a great operation, I think they're doing everything they can do. But I think we're relying on payments from unreliable state and federal sources, which is basically taxpayer money that was seized from their pockets. The nursing home will always lag behind fluctuating economic conditions, wages, expenses. The current condition we're in right now, we're at 40-year highs for inflation. It dropped down to 7.1, which is still extremely high, still a 40-year high. Despite the hype that inflation will go lower, I don't believe it's going to go lower. I think we are in the eye of this latest financial storm. Yes, it's time to pay our debts owed, so I will support this to keep the TIFs in order, but we must sell the nursing home. This is not a government mandated service we have to supply. There's plenty of open beds in Stephenson County. Also, all the Medicare, Medicaid, all that other stuff, that is all taxpayer funded things. So it's not like we're gonna not support these people, but there's plenty of other places in the county. If we don't support this and we don't get these bills paid, we're gonna have to close it when other people's money run out. we should have sold it for the $3 million when we had that opportunity. And if we get some decent bids here, I will definitely vote yes to sell it. Thank you.
Mr. Bush?
Thank you. As stated, it is the nursing home money, true enough. The biggest problem I have with this is the fact that of what you're going to use it for, even though it's needed. But I think at the same time too, there's some issues there that need to be covered. I mean, we got bills that need to be paid. If they don't get paid, then what's the liability behind that? So that was my biggest concern. But at the same time too, the nursing home is ours. We need to take care of it, regardless. Yes, we got some issues out there, but that's been in the past. We now got a decent management company. We got a decent administrator to be able to turn this thing around. So I just think, yeah, it don't look good right now, but I think that if we just hold on and to eventually put the trust in them, yeah, they might not do things the way we want it to be done. But you got to realize, they've been in this business before. They know what they're doing. So, I mean, it's their money. As that commercial said, it's my money and I need it now. So I'll be, even though I didn't support it in committee, I will support it tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Mr. Whalen?
Yeah, I will be supporting it as well. I think it gives them a chance to get closer to being right. We saw some revenue projections at committee that were positive, and we'll have to see if those come to fruition. I too am very skeptical, as Mr. Jokers is, that will be the case, but certainly willing to give it a little bit of time. I will say, I saw some head shaking when I think you just mentioned, Mr. Jokers, that there are other beds available within the county. I did talk with 3 of the for-profit institutions in Stephenson County, and there are approximately 60-some beds available for Medicaid uses outside of private pay, which I found interesting. I didn't know that. Had no idea that was the case. And, the night before committee, I had a phone call from a constituent that had asked me directly about that, and they were surprised when I brought that up. But just, I had to deal with that at one of the institutions myself on a personal basis, so I'm very familiar with the process, and I think there's more availability there than maybe what we all understand. And that was my first question about this whole thing, is what is the real need in Stephenson County? And I don't know if anybody can really answer that question specifically. I think we got a fine institution. We're trying to make it work, and I appreciate Ms. Anthony's efforts over that in the last year from what I come to understand. But it's a tough thing. We got some tough decisions to make on that. But I think we all need to keep in mind what's best for the folks that are living there right now too in the process, and make sure no matter what happens, we take care of them through the process. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mrs. Hayes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will be supporting this as well tonight. So many times in our community, if you're conservative, it's perceived that you want to shut down the nursing home. You want to close it and kick grandma to the curb. I've actually heard that. We need to take care of them. We need to take care of what's going on right now. I'm not even as concerned as what's going to happen in the next 6 months as I am that they may not get dinner tomorrow night. That we have to pay our bills. Yes, I'm very concerned about the nursing home. I'm concerned about these nursing home today, which is why I believe that they need to take their money now. It's kind of like when you're retired and you have money set aside for your adult children. It's like getting their inheritance a little earlier because they need it, right? We need to help them through. If we have the means to do it, we need to help them now. And maybe by the time October rolls around, they'll be solvent and all this will be solved. But I will be supporting this in advance. Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone else looking to speak. Madam Clerk, would you call roll on this, please?
Tim Whalen.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Mattero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
14A, 1 nay. Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Mr. Whalen, you have another action item?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a bid for Lusher Heating and Air Conditioning in the amount of $11,250 to install water heating elements, 2 water heaters, tankless water heaters, to take care of the dishwashing operation at the nursing center. I would still move at this time to approve this bid.
Okay, motion by Mr. Whalen. Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Baker. Discussion. Okay.
I actually,
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Hayes, go ahead.
yes, for something like this, do we need 3 bids? In order to award it to Lesher?
No.
He did bring 2 bids too.
From 2 different companies? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were doing due diligence, that's all.
Anything else? All right, let's do roll call on this as well, please.
Tim Whalen.
Yes.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kurt Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Mattero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Yes.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
15A. Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Whalen, do you have anything else out of your committee?
I do not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to public property and safety. Mr. Copeland.
Yes, I
I have no action items. I do have information. First time Sheriff Stovall, in his new capacity, met with the committee. It was a good meeting. He gave us an update on the license plate readers that were bought earlier in the year. For the board members not familiar with the term of the license plate reader, LPR, it's a camera that is situated on a fixed object for the purpose of identifying vehicles traveling through a location by photographing the vehicle's license plates. The information goes to a database that several agencies can use to solve crimes involving the use of the vehicles by tracking their routes and locations of the suspect vehicles. Now, Sheriff Stovall is seeking to return the LPRs to the company that sold them to the county. The Sheriff's Department was given erroneous installation instructions for the cameras, and contrary to the information given to the Sheriff's Department, the cameras cannot be placed on electrical poles, which creates a problem on how to power the cameras. And the cost of the installation for the cameras with this different method will be about $100,000. Sheriff Stovall is diligently conversing with the company concerning the exchange of the cameras for the amount that the cameras were purchased for. I'm confident you'll be able to do so. I've also received a resolution from Iroquois County, a copy, about the opposition to HB 5855, the prohibition of certain firearms and changes to the firearm laws. I'd like to present a resolution also to the board, but I've a little difficulty. The legislature may vote on the bill before January 14th, and our next meeting is January 19th. So I don't know if that would be done.
Yeah, I think it probably needs to run through your committee first.
Okay.
I do not believe I'll be calling a special meeting just for the resolution. So I guess, you know, if the state legislature does not vote on it, and if it passes out of your committee, then in January we can bring it to the board on the 19th. So I think they're voting on the 14th, correct? somewhere in there in the lame duck session.
Yeah, I talked to the representative, and he says it may be farther down the road. You heard from some other legislatures, so we're not sure.
Okay.
But, that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Copeland? Okay, thank you. We'll move to administration. Mr. Jogerst.
Thank you, Chairman. We only have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is on page 22 of your packet. It is the purchase of 20 iPads for the county board and others here. And that is to use at the meetings and for public documents and things. I'm going to make a motion to approve, and then I'll add some more information about this afterwards. So I'll make a motion to approve that for the $21,660.
Okay, motion by Mr. Jogerst. Is there a second? By Mr. Moderell. Discussion?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, at the administration meeting, we talked about this a little bit in length, and one of the other reasons that we wanted this was down the road here, Mr. Wilkinson is looking at possibly purchasing some onboard software. It is basically it's a meeting software for agendas, voting, all that type of stuff. And we did talk about this. It will work with these iPads, and it's also very secure. And so there's a website called onboardmeetings.com if you're interested, but we did check this out. It'll all work together. So we would kind of want to move the technology together. So we're not all running around with different equipment here, and so that's why we're looking at this. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Anything else out of your committee, Mr. Jogerst?
Just a couple quick comments. We're still working on the IT policy package. I found out at the finance meeting that we need to send that back in, which Mr. Wilkinson has done, but now we need to pay for another review because we only get one free review. So Mr. Wilkinson is working on that, and we'll have that back to administration and hopefully get that review done so we can get that one finalized. And lastly, we have that interloan fund policy out there that we've talked about, and we're starting to work on it a little bit, so we got to get that going as well. So
great.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Jogerst? All right, thank you. We'll move on to Mr. Bush and Court Services.
Yes, we just had one item, which was approval of legal service with Henshaw and Crumpson, and also move.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Bush. Is there a second? Mr. Whalen? Discussion?
Yes, this will be out of the state's attorney's office, and when needed, that he'll be able to use an attorney out of there, which is a local attorney here in Freeport that's work out of the office. So when needed, that he'll be able to use this service.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? By Ms. DeMeester. All right, any other information out of your committee, Mr. Bush?
That is it.
All right, thank you very much. And Ms. Anthony is now your vice chair, correct?
Yes.
All right, perfect, thank you. All right, we'll move on to Nursing Center and Ms. Baker.
All right, before you tonight, we have approval of.
Hold on 1 second, I'm sorry. All right, go ahead, thank you.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yes.
Before you tonight, we have approval of claims in the amount of $276,000. Sorry, let me rephrase that again. $276,011.61. In the past months, we have approved claims pending funding. The nursing home administrator and treasurer have been working, and they created a priority list for payments as revenue is received. So I make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Baker, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Bush, is there any discussion on that? Mr. Jogerst? Go ahead.
Just had one quick question on this 276,000. I might have missed it during the meeting I was listening, but is this going down now, or has this gone up from last month? Can somebody answer that? The outstanding bills, has the bills gone down this past month, or are they rising?
Mrs. Newcomer?
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that 276 is the claims being submitted for payment and approval this month. That doesn't have our previous month's unpaid balances included in that.
How much is the unpaid previous?
Shannon, do you have that information?
Right, okay, that was the number I was thinking about, so 900 or whatever the number was, so, okay.
So Mr. Jogerst, if I can, just real quick, and this is not up to date necessarily. There may be revenue that has come in that's already taken care of some of these bills. Yes, the document you have shows $980,779.05. Again, there could be revenue that's come in since and bills for previous claims that could be paid that would reduce that amount. Also of note, tonight we just approved the payment of the $190,000 to that interfund loan.
Right.
So the liability should be less at this point, but again, it all depends on revenue that's come in, and I'm not aware of what those numbers would be at this point.
I just wanted to get that out in the conversation for the public, so they don't understand that 206 is all we owe, because they need to know what the full amount is. We need to get that out to the public. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Mr. Jogerst, okay. I believe you have another action item.
So next up, we have approval of a bid for food services. Our current food service provider, Fresh Ideas, has informed us that they are terminating their contract. An RFP has been issued and there is a bid for approval tonight. We have Mr. Levi Carl from Healthcare Service Group on Zoom. Levi, would you be able to provide any information to the board, or does the board have any questions for him?
Okay. Do we have leave to hear from this individual? Is everyone okay with that? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so apologize that I was not able to attend, in person. I had to be in a flight early tomorrow, but I am here for any questions to be asked. In regards to the financials, I just would like to kind of review that very quickly, as the RFP was a little bit different than what we're normally accustomed to when it comes to the financial part of it. We are quoting this as a fixed variable, and a fixed variable is there's two sections essentially of this proposal. One is the fixed side, okay? And the fixed side is all the payroll, all the productive, non-productive time, the payroll taxes, workman's comp, insurance, office supplies, menu management, the writing, the customization, everything that's fixed would be on the fixed side. The fixed cost for this proposal, and again, this is based off of weekly, so you could obviously work that annually or monthly, but the total fixed weekly billing is $7,361. So that's one aspect of the proposal. The other aspect is the variable monthly billing, and the variable monthly billing essentially is the food. It's the food, it's, obviously the milk, the juice, the coffee, the produce, the bread, the snacks, etc. Any sort of employee or guest meals, special events, shakes, etc. And that was based off of the current census right now of 55, recognizing that can and hopefully will go up during the course of 2023. The variable monthly billing for this proposal is $14,596. That's estimated. And essentially on the variable side, what we do is at the end of 30 days, we're going to give you our invoices that we spend on all the food that I described, and we charge an access fee. That access fee is 5% on top of that. Obviously, it's all built in to the proposal. This protects you and this also protects us. So, if your census, would go down, for instance, there's no reason for you to pay a fixed cost based at 55. And the same thing goes if your census goes up. If we're buying at 55 and we have to buy for 75, obviously there's going to be a lot more food. Everything has been built into the proposal up to 75 census, so nothing is going to change at this point. The annual dollar amount or estimated annual dollar amount is $559,012. That is the financial side, of the proposal. As far as labor and whatnot, we want to give everybody an opportunity to make it with our company, so nobody will be losing their jobs or whatsoever. My understanding is that the labor will stay, including the manager there. We can have side discussions on anybody you'd like, but that's pretty much it. I'm here for any questions you guys may have.
So before we entertain any questions, is there a motion to put this on the floor?
Motion to approve.
By Ms. Baker, is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Bush, okay. Any questions, comments? Let's see here.
I did have actually one question from the bid. It did indicate, I believe, that food service would start on January 15th. And then there's another section in the bid, I believe it's page 5 on the top, where it says the contract is effective for 1 year commencing on January 1, 2023. So I wasn't quite sure the two different dates there.
Mrs. DeMeester?
Yeah, you're getting this food service bid, but I understand you didn't pay the last one. Is that correct or not?
This would be questions directed to the vendor. We have not had a relationship with this individual.
Okay.
So your question, I think, are you looking to ask that of the nursing home committee, the administrator of the nursing home? Okay, so who would you like to direct the question to? Okay. Shannon, would you like to come up?
Can you repeat your question again? I couldn't hear. You're getting a bid for this food service, but the last one you used, you didn't pay.
We have paid Fresh Ideas, and there are
completely paid?
There are some outstanding invoices right now, and that was due not an error of the facility, but an area. We had an employee that did not input invoices.
And are they going to get paid?
Yes, they will get paid in the priority list.
Anything else, Mrs. DeMeester? Okay, Mrs. Hayes?
Yes, hi Shannon, thanks for coming. Why did Fresh Ideas terminate the contract then?
They terminated the contract because they were expecting our census to be around 80 at this point, and they said they weren't making any money off of the current census.
Miss Anthony, thank you. It says DeMeester.
I know, it's confusing. I believe this is true, but if you just want to confirm, the overall bid or monthly is lower than what Fresh Ideas was submitting, correct?
Correct. It's around $3,000 to $5,000 lower a month.
Thank you.
I have another question. You sent out an RFP. Did you receive any other bids?
No, I did not. This was the only bid.
Mr. Whalen?
Yeah, I was just The packet that you received.
I'm sorry, the packet we received starts on page 7 with the bid sheet, and I heard him mention a page 5. On the contract itself that we would enter into, is that an annual contract? Is there an option out, or what are the stipulations of the overall agreement?
I believe there's a 30 days out in that one. I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay, just curious. I mean, if we didn't like the service for some reason, or what have you.
Well, let's hope we like the service.
I hope so too.
Sorry to interrupt. While you're up here, I think the vendor had a question about the actual start date.
The start date is the 14th, Levi.
Okay. Any other questions for our administrator? Go ahead. Pardon?
Can you say 2 things?
Yes.
I just want to let you know the 900,000 that I said a while ago while I was in the back, that includes December as well. So I want to tell you that, and I want to tell you all that this has been the calmest meeting that I have ever seen since I've been here, and I've been in some angry ones, let me tell you. But I'm proud of both sides, both of you guys, Republican and Democrats. It's really nice to see you guys working together tonight, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Mr. Monroe, did you raise your hand?
No, sorry.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Bear with me for one second. Mr. Hart.
It was me, but.
Yeah, your name's actually correct on here.
Let me wait until, is the vendor still on?
I believe he is, yes.
Okay. I'll wait. This has nothing to do with
Okay.
that.
Mrs. Hayes.
Yes, I too am missing the part of the, oops, I dropped my hands. With part of the actual contract. Is there any clause in it that speaks to our unpaid bills? If we would fall behind, is there anything that would speak to that we need to be aware of?
Well, I think if the vendor is on, if you want to address, I guess, potential delinquency and payment. Is he still on? Mr. Carl, are you on?
Yes, I'm here, I'm sorry. Was asked to me in regards to?
Did you want me to repeat the question? The question was if potentially, after being billed, if you're not paid in a timely fashion, what the remedy would be? Or your expectation?
In regards to the contract, Shannon does have a generic contract in hand. So, whomever needs to take a look at that and do any sort of redlining, adding, deleting, obviously, feel free to do so. I will then forward that over to my, contract team. In regards to non-payment, all terms are negotiable. I don't want you to think that if, payment is not made on that 31st day of your 30th day, we quit. That's not how we do service. That's not how we do business. But there is obviously a time frame where, if we don't get paid, we will definitely get other, people involved within our corporation. And, there has been instances throughout the country where there's been no payment and eventually we have to leave. We hope that's not the case. There's nothing specific. If you're looking for some language, you can probably take a look again at our contract, take a look at it, and again, if there's something that's out of sorts, just let us know. We of course want to get paid, and I'm sure you want to pay us. So.
Okay. Does that answer your question,
Yes,
Mrs. Hayes? Okay. Just as a reminder, everyone, we do have a motion and a second on the contract before us. So I do believe this is time sensitive as well. So while it's nice to hear that we have the opportunity to redline, if there's any amendments that want to be made, they need to be made tonight, unless there's other actions. Mr. Filippo is raising his hand. Is there leave from the board to hear from Mr. Filippo? Come on down. We'd like to have you on the microphone if possible.
No red shirts for me though this day.
Can you please raise your right hand? I'm just kidding.
I need a vibe. Just the short answer to, I think, that whole discussion on
non-payment and all that. Both sides have a 90-day out clause. So healthcare services group is not going to be able to pull out in one day. They would have to give 90-day notice, just as we would if we weren't happy with their services. So it's kind of a mutual 90-day out clause.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Mrs. Demeester, okay, that passes. Anything else out of your committee, Mrs. Baker?
Yep, so we have 51 in-house, 2 in hospital leave, so that way you guys know how many numbers we have right now. And I would like to thank Ms. Harris for reaching out. I'm working with her and Ms. Newcomer and arranging a time for me to go out and tour the facility and meet all the staff and the department heads. So that's right now to that.
Great. I would encourage all board members to do that if you've never been out to that home. Way back when I first got on that committee in 2016, it was common practice to meet out there. Of course, COVID changed that, but it's an impressive facility. So I encourage you to reach out to the administrator and set up a time to go out and visit if you have the opportunity to do so. We'll move on to Mr. Frick, Planning and Development. I see you have no action items, but anything you'd like to bring up?
I had my button.
I'm sorry. If you can just give us a second. Mrs. Anthony.
Thank you, Chairman. Just wanted to speak a little bit to the outstanding balance, because I did have a discussion with our administrator, Ms. Newcomer, as well as Ms. DeWall. The finance director chimed in. We do have what's called a 13th month. I know that for those who have been following, Transitional Care Management has discussed a lot about the Medicaid increase, how that increased pretty substantially starting October 1st, but we don't anticipate any of those payments to really start rolling in until January 1st. So anything that's captured in the month of January will go back to fiscal year 22. And so it'll help paint a better picture of truly the nursing home financials at year end, as opposed to like the $980,000 that we're looking at right now. So I just wanted to clarify that because I thought that was important to kind of get a better picture of what happened in a year. That 13th month is important. I also wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate Stephenson Nursing Center and our administrator, Ms. Harris. We had our annual survey, came surprise a little early this year, and there were just 5 deficiencies. The average throughout the state is about 11.5, so only having 5 with everything coming in and everything that we're dealing with, and Ms. Harris only being here for part of the year, I think that's outstanding job. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate her and all the staff out there that work really hard to ensure quality care. Thank you.
Anything else before we move on to planning and development? Okay, Mr. Frick.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I want to thank you for bringing Mr. Williams here from Great River Partnership. He was at our meeting as well. We just really like to know where we're going, and I think that's kind of what our committee is looking forward to as we move into a new year and a new couple years to move our county forward that way. But I don't have any action items tonight, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move up to Public Works. Mr. Diddens is not here tonight, so Mr. Newton is filling in for him. And it looks like you have a couple action items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have, again, for your consideration, 2 items on tonight. First item to consider is HD 2221. The Highway Department has selected Chastain and Associates to prepare planning for the design services for the Highway Safety Improvement Projects, HSIP. It says the departments were awarded two different awards, and one of them was for the run of the road, and that amount totals $25,928.66. The second part of that contract is for the guardrail improvements, which will come to a total of $150,000. and the money is in the budget for 2023. And so I so move that we approve this.
Is there a second? Mr. Jogerst? Okay, any discussion on this? Mr. Rasmussen is here as well if anyone has any specific questions. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Mr. Newton, you have another item?
The second item on the evening is for the agreement for the purchase of land from Mark, I'm gonna say Rizich property for the improvement of the intersection of Route 26 and McConnell Road. This road requires the land acquisition, and there's a federal, it's a federal project, federal grant, which requires us to do a few other things to make compliance with the Federal Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Estate Property Acquisition Act of 1970. And so this total acquisition is for $446,851.50. On tonight, this authorization for doing this will be for our chairman to do the closing documents that'll happen when this project is complete. And so I so move that we move forward with the acquisition of this land to finish that McConnell Road project.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Newton. Is there a second? Mr. Jogerst? Discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Mrs. Demeester, okay. Anything else, Mr. Newton, from your committee?
Only information at our past meeting, we did receive from our highway engineer our 5-year outlook for our roads, and as always, he does a great job of updating that. And so I believe it's on the website, and if there's any questions, I would encourage you to give him a call, and he'll explain to you in more details as to why certain roads are being fixed ahead of others, maybe. Thank you.
Great, that's good information. Thank you for that. All right, we'll move on to public comments. Is there anyone that would like to speak at public comment? No? Okay. Moving on to new business. Approval of amended 2023 County Board and Committee meeting calendar. We are updating that simply because administration is moving from 3:30 to 5 p.m. and Public Works is moving from 9 a.m. to 5:30. I apologize. It was originally 9, moved to 5:30. I'm moving it up to 5 p.m. as well on Thursday. That's why that's before us tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Hadley. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Deininger. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to approval of ordinance amending Chapter 29, Section 14. Mr. Jogerst, or you want to take this, or? Okay, thank you.
I don't have.
Let me get your microphone on. Go ahead.
I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was pointed out to me that we still had language in there, the number of people per committee based on the 22 board members that state's attorney to the rescue here. So we had numbers in there of 7 basically on every committee, and now we've reduced that with the reduction to 16 committee members. So it's just to clarify the code to match what we need to do here. So
thank you.
Yep.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Hadley, is there a second? By Mr. Whalen. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also included in the packet on the final new business is the approval of sale of surplus properties. Apparently this came out after finance. It was just included on this. The treasurer brought this forward. It is in the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Copeland, is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Baker. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Before we have a motion to adjourn, just making a correction that the next meeting is Thursday, January 19th. On the agenda, it does indicate Tuesday. Motion to adjourn.
You did.
By Ms. Baker.
Public comment?
Oh, we did it.
Second by, who made it, Mrs. Deininger? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah.